Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'll be going over my team selection and transfer plans for the double and blank game week 25. First up in goal it's Kepa Arrizabalaga for Chelsea's away fixture versus Tottenham. Last game week was a story of upsets in the Premier League, and Chelsea's home defeat to Southampton was no exception. Although Spurs away will be a tough test, I fancy playing Kepa in goal this week over Danny Ward, who has a tough home fixture against Arsenal. Hopefully with Thiago Silva and Reece James back in the side, Chelsea will have a better chance of shutting out Spurs this week. First up in defence it's a player who I don't expect to get any minutes whatsoever this game week, and that's Nathan Patterson for Everton's double game week against Aston Villa and Arsenal. Although Patterson has two fixtures this week, he's only just returning from a long-term injury. To add to that, Sean Dyche has recently made Seamus Coleman Everton's captain, and he's been playing well, keeping 2 clean sheets in his last 3 matches and scoring last week against Leeds. My hope is that Patterson is able to get a point or two this week, so that I can field a full 11. Next to make the team is Gabriel for his double game week against Leicester and Everton. After a strong start to the season defensively, you'd have to say that since the World Cup, the Arsenal defensive assets have been among the most frustrating to own in FPL. Since game week 17, Gabriel has only picked up 2 clean sheets and scored a maximum of 6 FPL points in a single game week. I don't hold high expectations for him this week, so any return he's able to get, whether that be a clean sheet or a goal, will be an added bonus. Luke Shaw obviously doesn't have a fixture this week, so I'll explain my transfer plans and thoughts regarding his future in my team later on in the video. Finally in the defence this week it's Benoit Badiashile for Chelsea's home encounter with Tottenham. I made the decision to bring in Badiashile for Dan Burn last week because I was sure Chelsea would keep a clean sheet up against the Saints, and Newcastle's fixtures were turning, especially with an upcoming blank game week. Although Badiashile didn't return last week, I still think he's a decent long-term hold, as after the Spurs match, Chelsea have a good run of fixtures spanning up until around game week 31. I'm hoping that a double up in the Blues defence will be a beneficial differential within FPL. To begin with, in the 3-man midfield is Martin Odegaard for his double game week versus Leicester and Everton. After a rough patch of results for Arsenal over February, they were able to pick up a good win last week against Aston Villa. Although Odegaard only got a single assist from Arsenal's 4 goals, he showed how instrumental he was to their all-round performance, picking up 3 bonus points in FPL. I would argue that he's among the top 3 captain options for this game week, alongside the likes of Salah and Saka. Talking of Saka, he makes the team this week for his double game week. Another goal last week meant that Saka's goal tally is now 9 for the season, and with that he's also got 9 assists. I honestly think that at the moment, he's the most important midfielder to own in FPL, because he's nailed to start in an Arsenal team whose full focus is on competing for the Premier League title. With numerous fantasy managers looking to bring in Liverpool players this week and captain them, I personally wouldn't overlook Saka for the armband. Finally, to make the midfield, it's Kevin De Bruyne for his away game against Bournemouth. Those of us who held on to De Bruyne for a while were eventually rewarded in game week 23 with a 15-pointer, although that was shortly followed up by a blank against Nottingham Forest. On paper, this looks like a good fixture versus Bournemouth, but recently Man City have struggled to break down teams who are sitting deep and absorbing pressure. They're also being quite wasteful with their chances. I have a real decision to make this week on whether or not to hold on to KDB for one more game. Che Adams is the first player up front this week for his fixture away to Leeds. Adams missed Southampton's last game away to Chelsea due to a knock, and what's worrying is that Southampton managed to get a 1-0 win, which makes me think that he might lose his place in the Saints' starting lineup. It's fair to say that Adams has been a disappointing asset to own in FPL since the World Cup, and in a week where lots of my players don't have fixtures, I just hope he gets some minutes against Leeds. Joining Adams, it's Mitrovic for Fulham's home game versus Wolves. Mitrovic is another player who missed out last week due to a knock, and I really hope he's available to start for this appetising looking fixture against Wolves. Fulham have been outstanding so far this season and managed to grab 3 points against a very good Brighton side last week, so I expect them to dominate and most likely come out on top on this Friday night game. I feel like Mitrovic is long overdue a return in FPL. Completing the 11, it's of course Erling Haaland for his away trip to Bournemouth. Although Haaland failed to return last week against Nottingham Forest, City did create a lot of opportunities, and I think it's a matter of time before he gets a couple of returns in a match. Haaland's been playing a lot of football recently, and with a Champions League match against Leipzig during the week, there could be a chance that Pep decides to rest him come the weekend. Although it's only a slim chance, it could be enough to rule him out of the captaincy shout. Making the bench this week is Ward for his home game against Arsenal, and then 3 players without a fixture in Rashford, Mitoma and Trippier. So here's my first thoughts regarding transfer plans. Either use one free transfer I have to field a full 11 by transferring Shaw out for another defender, most likely Tarkowski or Dawson. Another option is to take a -4 to transfer Shaw out for Alexander-Arnold and then downgrade De Bruyne to Gakpo. However, I think my favourite move this week would be a -4 to take out Shaw and De Bruyne and bring in Cash and Salah. That way I'm planning ahead for blank game week 28 as well as this weekend. I will admit though, this is one game week that I'm really not sure of how to navigate. I think it's too early to use the wildcard, although I haven't completely ruled it out, and the free hit is probably better saved for a later time in the season. Because I'm likely to captain either Saka or Odegaard, I'm not too interested in bringing in a Liverpool player to captain them, so I don't think it's worth ripping my team apart for their assets, especially as they haven't performed well this season, and surprise benchings might also be a possibility due to their congested fixture schedule. I would really appreciate your input on this one, guys. What would you do with my team this week? Let me know down below in the comments. And also, I'd be really happy to give my opinion if you have any transfer dilemmas of your own. Just drop your question and your team below. Thanks as always for watching, and I do wish you all the best for the upcoming weekend.